My name is Constantine Chotov, and this is my Studio 2 game. It's a top-down 2D space shooter created in Unreal Engine 4. I started off by creating all the needed actor blueprints for the game. The main character, which is called PP player, the two enemies, enemy 1 and enemy 2, the two pickups that are possible that you can possibly pick up during the game, one which gives you an extra shot each time you fire, and one which gives you temporary invulnerability. The projectile, which is basically your shot, a game controller, which is responsible for spawning in the level as well as cleaning up all things that fly off screen, like like shots that don't hit, or enemies that aren't destroyed, or power-ups that aren't picked up. I also made two UI widgets, one called Game Over, which just displays game over when your character dies, and one called Kill Count, which is responsible for uh, storing, updating, and displaying uh, your score and how long you've been alive for. So, in BP Player, if we open it up, I put in code for player movements depending on input, firing weapons, which works essentially by spawning two projectile actors on each side of your ship, and if you've picked up one of the power-ups, a third one in the middle. Uh, the other pickup, just called buff, like I said, gives you temporary invulnerability. This works by disabling the player's collision for 5 seconds and then enabling it again while your collision is disabled and while you have that power up. There's a sphere shield effect around it, so you don't have to guess whether or not your time's run out and count to 5 each time you pick up the power up, just as a visual cue, which after the effect wears off disappears as well. Colliding with an enemy makes your ship explode, of course, with all the visual cues and sound effects. It disables your input, hides your actor temporarily, adds the game over widget to the viewport. There's a 2-second delay, and then your actor and the game is destroyed and the level is reset. In game controller, if we go to the event graph, I put in code for spawning enemies and pickups at random locations. I within a certain area. I did this using an array containing uh, all the enemies and the blueprints. No, I mean all the enemies and the power-ups, with there being for each power-up there's 3 enemies, so that you wouldn't have a straight line of just power-ups coming in, and now the chances of a power-up spawning are much smaller than an enemy spawning. This happens every 2 seconds. After balancing it out a bit, I found out that this is a good delay. Otherwise, either there's no spawns for too long of a time, or you just get crowded with spawns and can't just handle it, so to speak. There's of course also code for spawn for starting the game itself. Oh, at the start of the game, we said that the player is alive, reset the spawned enemies, spawn an actor, uh, set that he isn't buffed, possess him, and there's also a bit here that at the start of the game sets the visibility of the enemy spawner location, which I used just a static mesh of a box. to be invisible. There's also code for clearing up off-screen objects. For instance, enemies you didn't manage to defeat, projectiles you couldn't pick up, that projectiles that missed, or uh, pickups that you couldn't pick up. And whenever they collide either with this box over here or this box over here, depending on what they are, this one that's selected right now is for enemies and power-ups, and this one is for all the projectiles. And this is the area in which enemies spawn. In BP Enemy and BP Enemy 2 and all the pickups, we don't have that much code. Actually, there's almost literally no code at all, except for the fact that they have an actual world offset that's set on every tick. So, but basically that means they just move towards you, and one of the enemies moves a bit faster, and the pickups move slower and a bit to the side to compare to all the other enemies and you as well. And that's basically all there is in these 4 blueprints. And all their effects and actions that would happen when you collide with them or pick them up or shoot them are determined in other blueprints instead. I tried to make enemy movement so that that the enemy would move towards the character and try to collide with them, but the coding for it didn't work, and we figured that also um, at a certain point the enemies would just swarm the player and inevitably kill him. So I scrapped that idea during development as a whole. And BP projectile is where a lot of more important stuff actually happens. Like there's a code, of course, that determines the projectile speed, velocity, and all. Uh, and more importantly, this is where actually killing enemies happens. So whenever a projectile hits an enemy, it destroys the actor, adds to the overall score of the player, and spawns an emitter and a sound at the location of the impact to just be more aesthetically pleasing, so to speak. Depending on which enemy you hit, you get either 5 or 10 points. 5 for the slower guys, 10 for the faster guys. The game over widget is just a slow animation of the words game over fading in and then fading out. And there's really not that much to talk about in this one. In the kill count animation, it's responsible for both keeping track of how long you've been alive, keeping your score, and updating their values on the screen itself. Let's see how the game works itself. So the game is not a very complex, but that was never aiming for it being such. Game you could play in your time off or watch ahead, and without needing to worry about difficulties, etc. Almost all of the stuff in the game is working as I wanted it to work, with a few minor exceptions that I couldn't get around to fixing. But with the knowledge I have and with the time I put into it, this is the result, and I should say I'm quite pleased with it. I learned a lot while making it myself, and hope for better next or final year. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day.